All year, I've had my own Next Tracker, a technology company that helps the solar industry operate more efficiently. They allow your solar panels to rotate with the sun, maximizing the power generation. This is a stock that's nearly doubled from its IPO price early last year, although lately it's pulled back from its highs as Wall Street's turned against growth stocks. But because Next Tracker is all about utility-scale solar projects, the stocks perform much better than the other solar plays. Those were the ones that were dragged down by weakness in residential solar. And that's why we bought the stock for the charitable trust. Tonight, Next Tracker reported yet another blowout quarter. Big revenue beat, 29-cent earnings beat off a 64-cent basis. Only real negative is the management didn't raise their full-year forecast for the current fiscal year and spoke about some new projects being delayed that could constrain earnings. And that's why the stock got hit in after-hours trading. Earlier today, we checked in with Dan Shugar. He's a.k.a. Shug, as we call him around here, the co-founder and CEO of Next Tracker, to get a better read on the results. Take a look. Shug, congratulations and welcome back to Mad Money.
Jim, thanks for having us back on the program.
Well, we're thrilled that you're here. We know that this was another great set of numbers, starting right at the top of 50% over year-over-year revenue growth, $100 million top-line beat. What were the drivers here that made this happen?
Well, Jim, we really are optimizing our business annually and really seeking to always meet our customers' schedules. And so strong prior bookings, customers wanting material we delivered, and had a 50% growth year on year in our top line.
Can you tell me and our viewers about the benefit of tax credits so they understand? Because obviously they're bountiful. I think you could do well without them, but I do want people to understand how they work.
Sure. Well, we operate globally. We're in over 40 countries today, Jim, and different countries have different tax regimes. In the U.S., there's a 30% investment tax credit that most of our customers enjoy, and that's really helped equalize the playing field because fossil fuels and other ways to generate power receive their own benefits.
But we do know from what you've been saying to us, at least by 2030, that solar will be so compelling that we don't really care what nat gas does or what oil does. It's just going to be that much of a price differential because of the technology, because of what you do.
You know, it's really amazing how much cost reduction has been sustained in solar over the years. To give you a sense, about 15 years ago, we did the largest solar power system in the country then, and that was over $7 a watt in that year. And costs have come down by about a factor of 10. And it's because of the economies of mass production and the learning curve effect that solar's enjoyed such an incredible cost reduction. And that's why solar, which is really a semiconductor technology, is displacing traditional fossil fuels in the same way that computers replace typewriters and digital film or digital cameras replace film. It's the same exact disruptive technology.
So at the same time, this is, I think, demonstrated by your backlog, which seems gigantic to me.
We did enjoy, Jim, this quarter an increase in our backlog, and that was in the context of a very strong revenue quarter. So the fundamentals for solar have never been stronger because solar is the lowest cost way to generate power on most of the earth. And so we've seen places that you wouldn't necessarily expect solar to be taking off. For example, in the U.S., places like Indiana, Michigan, we're seeing solar projects in most of the states across the U.S. We're seeing solar projects very strong in Latin America, Australia, Africa, the Middle East, India. And so we're engaged, Next Tracker, in all these markets serving customers.
Okay, if that's the case, then I do have to wonder why you're just reiterating your full-year guidance. This quarter is so big that I wouldn't guide up in my first quarter either. And I know you do have an election coming up, which could play a role. But are you just being conservative? Because otherwise, straight line this thing, and you would have to take your numbers up pretty big.
Yeah, our fiscal year is young, Jim, and we're going into this. The one thing that is true is it does take longer for projects to get fulfilled. Projects, our experience, don't die, but sometimes it takes longer to get a construction permit or to get permission to connect to the grid. There's so many solar projects that have applied for connection to the electrical grid. If you look around the United States, over 7,000 projects solar and solar plus energy storage projects have applied to be connected to the grid. That represents 80% of what we call the interconnection queue. So the utilities are figuring out ways to streamline their process to evaluate these applications and interconnect. That's one of the largest factors in actually practically hooking up these projects. So our customers' projects can move in as they did to an extent this quarter that we just finished, which is why we had such a strong quarter, or in some cases they can take longer than anticipated. And so going into this year, that's how we decided to reiterate our guidance.
Understood. Now, there are a lot of people who don't understand. You talked about the vectors, what could matter. What do you think is the sensitivity of your business to interest rates? We know the residential turned out to be an interest rate play. No one thought that, but your company is not as directly impacted by rates.
Right. Well, utility scale solar, and thank you for differentiating that in your opening comments, has really powered on and is doing extremely well as a category. But I'm glad you pointed that out. The economics of solar are the number one factor that can help drive more utility scale solar are lower interest rates. And so because with renewable energy like solar and wind, most of the cost over the life of the project is right up front. And that gets amortized out. There's no fuel. Maintenance is very, very low as a cost item. So we're hopeful that the Fed does lower rates. We saw some promising signals to that yesterday, but we'll let the government do its jobs. But we're hopeful that rates do start to come back down, and that would be a very strong help to utility scale solar as a category and for Nextracker.
Well, excellent. That's what we wanted to know, and it is a pleasure to have you on, Shug. And obviously, this is just still one more very good quarter. Thank you for coming on to Mad Money.
Thanks a lot, Jim.
Absolutely. That's Dan Shugar, founder and CEO of Nextracker, stock that we own for the Chapel Trust. And you obviously know I like very much. Mad Money's back after the break.